you're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me.
Do you feel it?
Yes, we do.
A worldwide awakening is upon us. Welcome to the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Where we explore topics such as UFOs, aliens, banned medical cures, as well as classified secret knowledge. Come question your holographic existence. Share experiences from the other side. This is a show that will expand your mind as we decrypt the symbolic messages locked away deep within your DNA. And now, your guides for this magical journey. The hosts of the Universal Consciousness Show, Augie Nost and Diana Seraphim.
Hello, everybody out there. And that includes you. You are listening to the show for the thinking global citizen. And here we are with coffee in hand and ready to go. My name is Augie and I'm one of the hosts, and Diana is over in Germany, and I think you are there, Diana.
I am here. Hello, everyone.
Okay. Now, before I introduce the guest, I want to tell you how you can connect with us also. You can visit our website at the universal-consciousness-show.com. We are on YouTube with the same name, Universal Consciousness Show. And while you are on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel and click that little bell next to the red subscribe button. That's important because then you will get a notification when there are new shows coming out. And boy, oh boy, you don't want to miss that. So for those of you that want to hear this show again, just go back to the universal-consciousness-show.com or to YouTube, and of course also at KCORradio.com in the archive. We are there under Universal Consciousness Show. Now we are transmitting on 7 or more platforms. We are on Twitter, iTunes, TuneIn, Alexa, Facebook, and a few other places where we place it. So we're just about everywhere. And if you are listening to KCOR Radio website, there is this wonderful little feature down at the bottom of the page. It's called a donate button. And if you are able to help us out that way also, if you like what you hear and you want to show your gratitude of us being able to talk to our guests here, please also help us that way. But if you can't, that is also wonderful, because we are so glad you are here. Otherwise, it would be just the three of us here sitting here talking. It wouldn't be quite just as fun. So I would then go and introduce the guest for you. And yes, this is going to be kind of a hair-raising, exciting show, because you're going to hear stuff that you may not have heard before. I have Mitchell Nicholas Gerber with us. He is a spiritual warrior. You know, a warrior does not have to be on the front line with a sword or the gun. There's a very special warrior who stay behind to plan, to strategize, communicate, and educate. And today he is going to educate us on FALUN GONG, the wonderful spiritual practice of meditation, accountability, helping others, love for everything there is, and much more than that, and he will explain. And this accountability, meditation for higher spiritual consciousness and love for all things is one thing that the Chinese government do not want the people to know anything about, because they fear it more than anything. And Mitchell, he will tell us about this. But first, a little bit about him. Actually, very little about him. He is traveling the world, educating people about Falun Gong and the Chinese genocide against the participants of this spiritual practice because of the sensibility of what he will be talking about. We will not disclose his location or his nationality because of his safety. He is risking his life by what he is doing. But first, the good part, Falun Gong, the wonderful spiritual practice that is now spreading around the world. So welcome to the show, Mitchell.
Augie, wow, you really moved my heart and you almost moved me to tears of what you just said. And Diana, I am so grateful, both of you, for allowing me to share with you. And I'm just very glad to be here with you.
Yes, hello, Mitchell, and thank you also for being here with us. Just to begin with, could you please tell us in a few words, what was the turning point in your life that brought you on this path? So how did it all begin for you?
From the heart, love, unconditional love for the universe, for the people in our beautiful earth that breathe the same air, bleed the same blood, and follow the heart to deep in the heart for love. And when I felt the deep compassion of humanity, and through this particular practice, as Augie was talking about with Falun Gong, it touched me so deeply, Diana, to my core, and I dropped pretty much everything. I was in business. My father owned a massive major import-export business and company, and I was in one of the top 10 schools in business. And I was all about making money and investments, but I felt deep down inside that there was something missing, that there was a spiritual disconnect, that my soul was lacking something nourishing, something profoundly beautiful, and something that needed to quench the thirst of my heart. So on a very powerful day, actually it's everything is in synchronicity, nothing is coincidental, and everything is divinely arranged. On this day, May 4th, 2001, the 20th anniversary of my 20-year spiritual crusade and human rights campaign to support this beautiful practice, namely Falun Gong, that we're about to get into and take you on a journey on, everybody. I came across this beautiful practice at a human rights fair and festival, where there was all these beautiful Native American dancing and crafts and art forms and Tai Chi and yoga and meditation, and I just was drawn to this booth that had these Chinese people practicing these ancient forms of meditation and exercises, stretching, and all in synchronicity with the sound of these beautiful ancient Chinese melodies and music, led by who I came to know, the teacher, Mr. Li Hongse, the founder of Falun Gong. And I was just so drawn by the peace, the genuineness, and the calmingness. And my whole body felt very comfortable. So I learned this exercise, this meditation, this mind and body practice, and immediately I just felt my heart, my soul, my spirit, my body, and my mind connect as one in the form of love, compassion, and truthfulness. And there it was. I just knew I connected deeply to a divine grace that fed my soul and my heart. So I hope I answered your question.
But yes, thank you very much. But I still have a question in my mind. Does these words Falun Gong, they also have a meaning?
Yes, the great way of the universe. Like many ways in this world, Tai Chi, yoga, it's a Qigong. Falun Gong basically is part of the genuine traditional Chinese culture, which is quite profound. And it encompasses a very deep-rooted Buddhist and Taoist philosophy. And it's a culture that reveres the divine and living according to the way. Just when Lao Tzu and Confucius and Mencius were alive, walking in the world. Buddha Sakyamuni, the founder of Buddhism, was walking in the world. They all subscribed to the way, a harmony with heaven and earth. And this is what Falun Gong incorporates and encompasses. And that's why it spread like wildfire to become the largest spiritual movement in all of Chinese history of 5,000 years, that the numbers grew so quickly. And by 1998, over 100 million people were practicing. So this Falun Gong, also known as Falun Dafa, Diana, means the great way, or a simple way to connect with your heart and the divine based on truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance.
So
So
is there
actually, yeah, I know you want to ask exactly like me, the same question. Actually, Falun Gong and Falun Dafa is the same, one and the same, right? It's no difference between.
There's no difference, no. They're both of the ancient Chinese spiritual discipline in the Buddhist tradition. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then I always puzzled me a little bit. For the last probably 10 years or so, I've been aware of it. It grown so fast, but in China, in fact, there was a Chinese student that came to the United States here in Tucson, and I got to associate with him a little bit, and we were talking, and I asked him, "What do the Chinese think of God?" And he says, "Oh, it is science. Science is God." And I imagine that's probably or something similar to that, as they are told. There is no, but we have science, and that is our God.
Yeah.
Is that something that is indoctrinated to them, or?
Yes, it's a very abnormal society in China. That's more of the dark side that we can get into a little later if you'd like. Yet the atheist nature of the Chinese Communist Party has brutally persecuted the Chinese people, forced them into brutal poverty, brutal slavery, and brutal fear.
Yeah.
So they don't even believe in God or the divine or the connection to the divine, because purposefully the Chinese Communist Party cut that out of their system, robbed the Chinese people of 5,000 years of Chinese culture, and literally purposefully and intentionally decimated it.
Yeah.
So when Falun Gong came back and was teaching the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance, it brought back the ancient, good, true things of the ancient world of China, of the Tang Dynasty, the Qing Dynasty, the Ming Dynasty, the Han Dynasty, that was cut off intentionally and decimated intentionally by Mao Zedong and the Chinese Communist Party when they took into power in 1949. So,
Got a question for you though. Now this, you said 1998, there was over 100 million, but how big do you think it is now globally?
It's growing exponentially. The numbers in China between 1992 and 1998, when Mr. Li Hongzhi founded the spiritual practice of Falun Gong and introduced it into the general public, it grew like wildfire, between 70 and 100 million people. And now it's introduced and practiced in over 115 different countries worldwide. Unfortunately, more and more people wanted to know what Falun Gong was in 1998. The mainstream media of the West was so curious and in awe of this spiritual profoundness, this life force that was causing suicide rates to plummet. People were living longer. People with ailments, illnesses, injuries, and very serious ones were just becoming completely free of them in 3 or 4 months after practicing the exercises of Falun Gong. They are free of charge and really open to anybody, whether you are religious, whether you are a woman or a man, it doesn't matter. And millions of dollars of healthcare costs were being reduced. Even the Chinese government was praising Falun Gong for its incredible principles of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance, and it just grew exponentially, Augie. I really did, and many people were initially drawn to Falun Gong because of its healing effects. However, a significant reason for Falun Gong's popular appeal was also due to its simple and straightforward requirements for practitioners. Live your life according to truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. Let go of negative attachments and be responsible to yourself and others. So Mr. Lee discouraged the fanaticism that practitioners of other Qigong schools so often dedicated to their masters. Instead, he encouraged Falun Gong practitioners to focus on what matters, becoming a better person. So the Chinese people, like the world's people, recognized in Falun Gong's teachings the core tenets shared by Buddhism and Taoism. So unlike these religions, there were no ordinances, onerous lifestyle restrictions, or the requirement to relinquish the secular world. So Falun Gong spelled out the essence of cultivation and avoided the esoteric language of ancient scripture. So whether you are in business, whether you have relationships, whether you do this or you can practice. Whether you're a Christian or Jewish, Falun Gong encompassed everything. So quite beautiful and profound, and I've been practicing Falun Gong for at least 15 years, and it's just quite remarkable.
Yeah, and I've been doing it for 15 years. You know it very well.
Very, very well. Very well. Unbelievable. Health benefits, the psychological, the spiritual, the emotional, the physiological, the DNA tissues, pregnant women compared to non-pregnant women, or pregnant women who do not practice Falun Gong and pregnant women that do, how the growth and the metabolic processes and the growth of the fetus into the child, how that is substantially increased in terms of health efficacy and wellness. It's just quite remarkable. I've seen amazing results from my own life where I was addicted to smoking and drinking and lustful endeavors when I was younger. When I practiced Falun Gong, that all went away. I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking immediately, I stopped drugs. I don't feel angry anymore. I feel very positive. I can conduct business better. I have better loving relationships. People like to be around me more because I'm more positive. So when you practice the Falun Gong exercises, it really brings stability to your life in a very profound way, and it's free of charge. So it's wonderful. Yeah, it's really wonderful.
When you do the practices that have great effects on the body, the physical body, but also what about the spiritual? Do you see, or do you feel, or does people have experiences where they get universal downloads, or they get spiritual knowledge or wisdom dumped in their mind, which they then can interpret possibly and educate others with? Or how is that connection to the universal mind maybe being stronger by doing this?
Oh, profoundly. I mean, dreams are more vivid, downloads are better in terms of strategic planning, decision making, emotional understanding of vitality, inner wisdom, connection to the earth, to animals, to human beings, to the nature of life. You become much more in tuned and mindful at a very quick, rapid pace. I don't know how to explain it. And this is what I love about Falun Gong. It's very simple. A great way is not necessarily profound, complex. Very profound, very simple, very down to earth, very natural, organic. And you get to understand about food. I mean, just the senses are invigorated and become alive. You appreciate everything around you more. You are much more drawn to the higher vibrations of life, as you were saying. And I've personally felt deeply connected to the Creator, to the wisdom of the Creator, to the angels, to the fairies. People think I'm maybe a little crazy when I say that, but all these beautiful little beings that that are good and solid and lovely, and I do believe in the magic. It brings back Falun Gong brings back the magic. They were so lost, and takes us out of the rat race and brings us into this mindfulness of magical spiritual enlightenment that has been so lost nowadays. And not only that, it also brings us back into the moral consciousness of the heart, which is all about love. It's all about compassion, and it's all about unconditional truth.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I feel.
Yeah, you mentioned that you got more connected with the spiritual, including angels and fairies. And I know some people are just rolling their eyes when they hear those two words, but no, I have pictures and I have videos of fairies. We know what they look like. We know what angels look like. Angels doesn't have wings. They look like you and me. Cherubs do, but the angels do not. So there are pictures, there is evidence. I've been saying about the spiritual worlds and whatever is on the other side. I've been saying that if all the evidence for the spiritual angels and everything on the other side of the veil was taken into a court of law and adjudicated before a jury and a judge, they would have been hanging a long time ago because it can be proven.
Oh, absolutely. It just takes one to believe in oneself, believe in the miracles of creation, the spiritual vitality of life, and the existence of magic, divine magic, divinity that has been hidden in so many ways, especially in the East, where I am right now. I won't disclose, but when especially communism and tyrannical regimes like the Communist Party in China takes over divine lands, because China used to be known as the divine land, where miracles happen, magic was abundant. People and scholars and emperors would sit in meditation and tranquil meditation before they conducted any sorts of business, any sorts of political activities, any sorts of kind of contractual obligations. You would connect yourself with the way, the force, as the Jedi would say, the force, and connect with that life force. And that's what Falun Gong did. The Falun Gong brought the life force back into China. The ancient good things of China came back. Buddhas and Taos and gods and divinity and spirituality and miracles and magic that was lost under the communist regime. And this is what threatened the Chinese Communist Party the most, to brutally persecute it and outlaw it to this day.
Yeah, and I can understand why they're afraid of it, because it's, in government, there's only two agendas, and that is money and power, not necessarily in that order. So I guess now we are less than a minute away from the break, so maybe we should go to a break now. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about maybe what the Falun Gong practitioners do, meditation, so on, and then I would love for you to explain a little bit about what is being done to the Falun Gong practitioners and what's going on in China. So let's go to break for right now, and then we will be right back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Your weekly connection to the truth.
You get to really sort of enjoy a bizarre ride.
Share your knowledge by calling our hotline number at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Call now.
Worldwide callers find us on Skype at KCOR Radio. It's time to abandon your fear and question what you think you know.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
More awakening awaits.
After this, after this, after this, after this, after this, after this.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Do you want the story behind the story? Then tune in Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern for Paranormal Rewind.
Enter a world of the twisted and deformed.
The mics are hot as author Sam Baltrusis and paranormal tech guru Keith Bailey take you behind the scenes with Paranormal Rewind.
Paranormal Rewind.
A show that transports you back in time and re-examines featured TV shows, radio broadcasts, and books that made the paranormal what it is today.
Sound good?
This mind-bending as well as engaging one-hour show will feature some of the best para-celebrities, investigators, and authors from around the world.
It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Come visit paranormal pop culture's most terrifying and memorable cases today. Paranormal Rewind, Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Hello, KCOR listeners. Lorian Fenton here from the Fenton Files to tell you how to watch UFOCon 2020, which was held right before the virus scare and shelter in place. It was a conference like no other, so don't miss out on the specially priced on-demand replay of what is already the most talked about conference of 2020. Visit UFOCon2020.com. That's UFOCon2020.com.
Monday nights are about to become hauntingly good, as Reverend Sean Whittington possesses the airwaves with Vegas Supernatural. Tune in every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern for Vegas Supernatural, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. There's a war raging between good and evil. The question is, which side are you fighting on? Tune in Monday nights as Reverend Sean Whittington sets the new standard for paranormal radio with some of the most influential personalities in the world today. Vegas Supernatural, hosted by Reverend Sean Whittington, every Monday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The one show even the devil doesn't want you to hear.
It's showtime!
Here we go, world. You're listening to the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Broadcasting from the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Their base is so large it has to draw most of its power from the nearby nuclear fusion plant.
The future of radio is here and now.
Going live in 3, 2, 1.
It's time, once again, to unravel the mysteries of the universe by connecting the dots to a higher consciousness. This is the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Now the world will begin hearing us.
Share your knowledge by calling 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
It's as simple as that.
Find us on Twitter at KCOR Radio or use hashtag KCOR. Even better, join us on the live chat at KCORradio.com. Back to your enlightened hosts, Agi Nast and Diana Serafini.
Hello, hello. We are back. We are back talking with Mitchell Nicholas Gerber, and we're talking about Falun Gong, the wonderful spiritual practice that is growing exponentially around the globe, except for where they are not allowed to be. And we were talking here also about some of the things they do, like meditation. I would love for you, Mitchell, to maybe talk just a little bit about the meditation practices for a few minutes, but then I want to get into what is being done to them around the world, and especially in China. So maybe you could speak about what Falun Gong does with meditation, because my opinion of meditation is that it is your gate to higher consciousness.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Well, Augie, I couldn't say it better myself. And what has incorporated Falun Gong into an incredible, easy and simple practice, yet quite profound, as you said, gate of consciousness, a higher gate of consciousness, are these 5 exercises. The first one, to stretch the energy channels, the body, the whole body, and then open up the energy channels, and the whole body will feel very warm, because within the energy channels, ancient Chinese medicine and ancient Chinese doctors would target the energy channels that were full of congestion, stress, anxiety, and ailments. So when you first stretch the whole body with the first exercise of Falun Gong, namely Buddha showing 1,000 hands, you stretch 3 sets, 8 postures each, and you completely unblock these energy channels. The second exercise is the standing meditation, called Falun standing stance, where you stand and hold a wheel posture in 4 different positions to strengthen inner vitality, awaken wisdom, and purify the body. The third exercise is called penetrating the 2 cosmic extremes, where it's almost like a Reiki type of exercise, where I wish I could show you, but you are moving your hands up and down, and collecting the energy from the cosmos to purify your body within, single movements and then double movements. The fourth exercise is to purify the body even more and further deeply in the body by gracefully moving your hands all over your body, called Falun heavenly circulation, and you grace and glide all your energy channels open by moving the energy from the top to the bottom, from the front to the back. And the fifth one is called Sheng Tong Jiachi Fa, the way of strengthening divine powers, the ancient meditation, sitting meditation, where you adjust the body, you strengthen divine powers, and then you enter into tranquility. And at the core of the Falun Gong exercises and practice are the values of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. So when you are in meditation, you have no breathing methods. It's just completely in your own control. Your mind is always in your control, and you try to meditate on truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance, which are the most fundamental qualities of the universe, and you take them as a guide in your daily life, and therefore raise your consciousness higher and higher and higher in these 3 principles. So, in the words of Falun Gong's founder, Mr. Li Hongzhi, assimilation to the highest qualities of the universe, as you said, Augie, the gate of consciousness, truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance, is the foundation of practice. Practice is guided by these supreme qualities and based on the very laws which underlie the development of the cosmos.
Mm. Wow, and after listening to this, I'm going to look more into Falun Gong, because I've been practicing meditation since I was about 4 inches tall, just about. And, there is some amazing things that the mind is able to do once you get proficient at it. And this sounds like an extension of that. That's why I want to look into that. And, when we first started talking, Mitchell, you were talking about the persecution of the Falun Gong in China. And initially, we decided now that this is too severe to actually go and do on a spiritual show like this one. But then you mentioned something to me that rang a bell, and that was that a spiritual warrior does not always need to talk about the good stuff. They also need to point out the problems, because without knowing the challenges, you are not able to solve them. That rang a bell with me. So that's why we're here, because we need to know about what's going on in China, because public sentiment needs to be raised on this subject. And I think that you are the one to do that. We have actually a audio clip that you sent us. And if Tina is listening here, maybe we could run, maybe I was talking about 45 minutes after, but we could do it any time that it is good for Tina there to run that audio clip, because that explains so accurately and so detailed what's going on in China.
Please do.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
I think
let's
so.
do that, and then you have the floor afterwards to talk around what we heard and explain what we can do to help on this really bad situation. So, Tina, just go ahead anytime that you are ready. Run that clip.
For today, many of you probably heard about the horrific organ transplant abuse in China, including reports that Falun Gong practitioners and other prisoners of conscience are killed to supply the lucrative trade in human body parts. I first learned about these allegations nearly a decade ago, when David Matas and David Kilgore, and also the Miss World Canada 2003, Nazanin F. Xinjiang, were speaking about it in Vancouver. But it took me a long time to nearly confront the gravity of this crime, to consider deeply what it means that tens of thousands, or perhaps hundreds of thousands of innocent people are being killed for their organs. The first time I was made to grapple seriously with this issue was when I starred in a film called The Bleeding Edge, which is based on true events. In it, I played a Falun Gong practitioner imprisoned for her beliefs, who was tied to an operation table as her vital organs are removed to be sold for a profit. Acting in this scene required me to imagine what this process would be like from the standpoint of a victim. And I had to imagine the sheer terror of knowing that death was imminent. It was a feeling of utterly helplessness, of being at the mercy of a cold-blooded murderer who would show me none. On the street, if someone assaults you and steals your purse, you can scream for help. Tied to a hospital bed in a surgical room of a labor camp, no one can hear you scream. In China, it is a state itself that is involved in organ stealing. As I consider this crime while preparing for my film's performance, I felt engulfed by the profound vulnerability and the injustice of it all. So it was a turning point for me, which made me realize that I feel that it is my duty to do all in my power to generate awareness about this issue. And I hope that you will feel the same after today's hearing. One of the factors that made it difficult to really grasp the magnitude of these crimes is that the victims, Falun Gong practitioners, are still not very well understood. Despite being among the most severely persecuted group in China, perhaps it is harder to really sympathize with them, with these people whose beliefs are rather foreign. So today I would like to shed some light on what Falun Gong really is and why they're being persecuted by the Communist Party. Falun Gong is many things, a set of meditation exercises, a moral code, and a way of life. If you have seen people practicing it in the park or in front of European Union today, you may have noticed that the exercise and meditation forms are very similar to Tai Chi and yoga. Falun Gong was and still is a social phenomenon. Because Falun Gong has no hierarchy or organizational structure, doesn't involve money, and doesn't really keep membership, no one knows exactly how many practitioners there were in China. But in 1998, the State Sport Administration estimated that there were 70 million to 100 million practitioners in China, more than the membership of Communist Party. Now, this is a major reason why Falun Gong was targeted by the Communist Party, and such a huge independent group was unprecedented in a communist community, a Communist Party regime history. And this explains how organ harvesting could come about. With potentially millions of Falun Gong practitioners incarcerated in China's vast network of prison camps, they become worth more death than alive. Their organs were worth money. They are blood typed, and when a blood match is made, they can simply be led away and killed, or simply put under anesthesia to have their organ removed while they are still alive. the mass killing that we're talking about today is not an abstract concept. The victims are real people, and they're innocent Chinese citizens. I know that prisoners of conscience sometimes give people the impression that these people are prisoners, but we are talking about innocent Chinese people. What's more is that they're extraordinarily brave and noble people who wanted nothing more than to seek truth and goodness and practice their beliefs. And because they're not willing to relinquish their values, their principles, they have been killed so their government can benefit from their organs. I hope that after today's testimony that you will do all in your power to also bring attention to this issue. Thank you very much.
And like we would say in America, holy chocolate. Are they really doing this, Mitchell?
Yes. In 2006, David Kilgore and David Mattis, two international human rights attorneys, the former Secretary of State to the Asian Affairs of the Canadian Parliament, David Kilgore, and David Mattis, an international human rights lawyer, 35-year international genocide law esquire out of Winnipeg, confirmed 18 hard pieces of evidence that between the dates of 2001 and 2006, 45,000 to 65,000 innocent Falun Gong practitioners were harvested for their organs, basically rounded up by the Chinese military and the highest ranking officials of the Chinese government to state-mandated hospitals, their organs cut out of their bodies while alive, their organs then sold for the most healthiest organs in the world today, massive amounts of profit, and then the bodies burned in the ovens of the hospitals to conceal the evidence. In 2014, Ethan Gutman, a China investigator, came on the scene and wrote his book, a 10-year investigative report, namely The Slaughter. And he conducted, with David Kilgore and David Mattis, at endtransplantabuse.org, argue that between 80 and 100,000 innocent Falun Gong practitioners have been killed and harvested for their organs, including Tibetans, Uyghur Muslims, and house Christians in China. But the communist regime targeted the Falun Gong because of the health benefits and because these people were deemed the most healthiest spiritual practitioners because of the exercises and the way of life. They didn't drink, they didn't smoke, and their health efficacy from the exercises and the way of life of conducting themselves more of a truthful and compassionate and tolerant nature were just seeing extraordinary results. So the communist regime targeted them and have made a multi-billion-dollar organ harvesting business off their organs for the last 20 years.
Wow. Yeah, I guess it's not just the Falun Gong. I guess the Muslims are targeted also, and now I understand also the Christians are somewhat persecuted. Isn't that true?
Yes, there's between 1 and 3 million Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps and databased, about 18 million Muslims databased for organ extraction. Yet the source of organs, 95% of them are the Falun Gong. And yes, the reports are all online at stoporganharvesting.org and endtransplantabuse.org. However, Augie, I don't know how much time we have left, but people, I know it's very heavy, I know it's very dark, and as Augie was explaining to you, that as a spiritual person, we want to try and stay as best as we can in the light, and I know there's so much heaviness going on in the world, yet it's very important to understand and try and voice our support for people who are suffering under very dark and evil regimes. So besides this, I would like to just redirect to people that if they would like to learn about the Falun Gong exercises, they can do so around the world free of charge at the website www.falundafa.org and also www.faluninfo.net. And the exercises are very beautiful and tremendous, and a really good protection to any kind of ailment or germs or virus or bacteria. I know, living very close to the Chinese border, I just don't want to give exactly my location, but and with the horrendous virus on the loose, doing the exercises have really helped protect me from ailments and pathogens, and I feel my body become much clearer, especially in a place that is so polluted. I live in a major city near China, and it is so polluted. Not in China, but at surrounding borders of China, and it's extremely polluted, one of the worst polluted cities in the world. Yet after practicing the exercises, such a cleansing. It's almost like a spiritual freshness of rejuvenation and peace, a spiritual car wash, basically wiping off all the pathogens and toxins and out of my body. So it's just quite profound, and I do implore people practicing. And unfortunately, they are killed for their organs because of the health benefits of the practice.
Yeah, and I see that we have we have about 6 minutes left of the show, so we understand the problem. You and the lady on the audio clip explained the problem. What can we do? There is always a solution, but we don't know necessarily what the solution is. What can we do to help in this arena?
The most important is to lend me your hearts, as you have done tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Augie, Diana, Tina, you've lent me your heart, you've lent me your ears to share in this historic time about Falun Gong. Allow me to clarify the truth about the brutality against it. And Anastasia Lin, the lady you just heard, is Miss World Canada 2015 and 16. And she goes around the world defending the Falun Gong as well, because she was barred from China in the Miss World pageant. What people can do is sign a petition, because the pen is more mightier than the sword, at stoporganharvesting.org or endtransplantabuse.org. People can learn the exercises at falundafa.org and share the links, share the show, download the show and share it with your friends and your family and your colleagues and people, because the more people that learn about this, it's so important. And there's a great quote that I want to end off with, if I may, that the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men and women to do nothing. And it's very important to uphold an oath, to just try to be brave and upright and be without fear and speak truth always, even if it leads to tough times. And we safeguard the helpless. And wherever we are in the world, we should band together as spiritual people to bring light to the darkness. So the best thing we can do is be aware, support your show, and get the word out about Falun Gong, how beautiful it is, as you have said, and that this brutal persecution must stop. And with more light and more love, we can accomplish this. So thank you for allowing me to come, Augie, on your show. Diana and Tina, God bless, and thank you, and everybody listening.
We time here, so now you being in the proximity of the Chinese country over there, you understand a little better of the politics in that part of the world. Do you actually see that the Chinese will stop this practice if there was enough global pressure? Do you think that would happen?
I believe so, yet it is so difficult because the Chinese Communist Party, it's a wicked gangster scoundrel regime that has murdered more life than 2 world wars combined, has been infiltrating the United Nations, the World Health Organization, and many of the governing bodies around the world, keeping them quiet, bribing them with massive amounts of money, blood money. You have a huge slave trade in China, funding the consumer market of many big, huge countries, and this is a multi-billion-dollar profiteering business. However, in China, there are good, courageous people that are trying to rise up and bring the light to the darkness. And I think that with the help of your show and courageous people around the world, including the Chinese people and the people who I work with in a country that I am with, we are going to bring more light to the darkness in a non-violent way, in a peaceful way. And the communist regime will be brought to justice. This kind of evil cannot harm spiritual people much longer, and so we are doing everything I can. I'm doing everything I can, Augie, to do it, and we have all the evidence to prove it. This is not some fantasy. This is not some kidney in the bathtub theory. This is legal, state-sanctioned killing of innocent Falun Gong practitioners and others who just want to live their lives in peace and are killed for their organs. So, again, I'm just grateful to get the word out.
You mentioned that you are a spiritual warrior based in peace, and in saying that, we must never forget what Gandhi did. He was a peaceful man, and he won.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Peaceful warrior of the light. A light warrior, Gandhi was. Yes. He wasn't passive. He did not cower to the darkness that suppressed people, but he was the change that he wanted to see. And he did not fight with a sword, but he fought with his heart. He fought with his spirit. And he carried a message that today, to this day, has influenced you, me, and so many around the world.
Yeah. We got 2 minutes left or a little less. Give out those websites again, so I can see people running around getting paper and a pen here. So give it one more time.
For all the exercises, ladies and gentlemen, www.falundafa.org, FALUNDAFA.org. Also www.FALUNINFO, faluninfo.net. And to learn more about this brutal persecution, endtransplantabuse.org and stoporganharvesting.org.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And for everybody listening out there, go and check out those websites, because this is the kind of education that will raise your awareness, and it will raise your spiritual hunger. Because once you see others persecuted, you will start realizing how lucky you are and how much more knowledge and spiritual awareness you need. So thank you very much for being with us, Mitchell. And we will be back next week. And until then, be good to each other.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
This has been the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Your weekly guide to a deeper understanding of the all that we are.
Well, in a few years, it will be a matter of common sense to very many people that they're one with the universe. It'll be so simple.
Live Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the show, hosts, or their guests, please visit universal-consciousness-show.com. That's universal-consciousness-show.com. Remember, there's a shift coming. A new earthly paradigm. A shift to universal consciousness.
Universal consciousness.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.